Welcome everybody to the Personalised Health Summit 2015. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you investing the time into your own health so that you can help understand all this amazing information from 30 world-leading experts, bringing conversations about science, about medicine, about nutrition, about sleep, about consciousness, mindfulness, World Health Solutions. Today we're talking about happiness, health and happiness, and being happy for no reason. I'm super excited to welcome Marci Shimoff today, and the biggest thank you goes out to our major sponsors, Ultimate Human Foundation, for the amazing work they're doing working towards the elimination of chronic pain and disease from the planet, to PH360, who's working to understand the tangible application of all this personalised health into a way that we can really tangibly use the information about the foods to eat, the exercise to do, the sort of people to hang out with, the way our mind works. It's really an exciting space and time to be alive. So without further ado, Marci Shimoff, thank you so much for being here today. We're super excited to have this conversation with you.
I'm always happy to be with you, Matt, and to get to talk about happiness and health.
Excellent. Well, Marci, I'd love to jump in and just hear a little bit about you for starters, about your journey, about your experience of life. What got you to this point in time? How can you possibly be happy for no reason? Please share a little bit about Marci with us.
Well, I am, Matt, the most unlikely person on the planet to be happy for no reason. I was born depressed. I came out of the womb with existential angst. And I had a great family, really great parents, everything was great. But I felt like I had this dark cloud around me. And I remember being 5 years old and feeling the pain of the world and the suffering in the world and wondering, am I just always going to be depressed? I didn't know the word depressed. I just knew that I felt bad inside. And I felt that all growing up. And I did what most people do who want to be happier, is I set goals for myself. This was in my 20s. And I thought, as soon as I reach those goals, then I'll be happy. And I'll just share with you a little bit, Matt, what my 5 goals were that I thought I needed to be happy, because I think a lot of people will be able to relate to these.
Please.
I thought if I had a great career helping people, if I had a wonderful husband or life partner, if I had fabulous friends, a comfortable home, and the equivalent of Halle Berry's body, that would be all I would need to be happy. Well, I got 4 out of the 5. I don't have Halle Berry's body, but I have a healthy body. And I really got everything I thought I needed to be happy. And I had a major turning point moment. It was in 1998. I had 3 books on the New York Times bestseller list, in the top 5 on the New York Times bestseller list, all at the same time. I was at the height of my career, and I had just given a speech to 8,000 people and had autographed 5,432 books. And I felt like an author rock star, and I had a great relationship and fabulous friends and a comfortable home, all those things I thought I needed. And I remember, after autographing that last book, I remember going up to my hotel room, and it was a beautiful hotel room overlooking all of Chicago. I was in Chicago. And I plopped onto the bed and I burst into tears. And I burst into tears because I realized this was the end of the line. I had everything I thought I needed to be happy, and I still felt empty inside. And I could no longer continue to trick myself into believing that just the next thing was going to make me happy. And so at that point, I just decided I am going to absolutely find out what I can do to be happy. And I did a whole bunch of research. I studied all the literature out there and all the studies out there on happiness. And I interviewed 100 unconditionally happy people. And I started practicing everything that I was learning. And it worked. And I would say that in the time that I really researched this deeply, I went from, if you were giving me a grade, I went from about a D+ in happiness to an A in happiness. And it was like amazing. And then I wrote a book about it called Happy for No Reason. And I now teach this to thousands of people around the world. And I think there's great news. And the great news is that anyone can be happier. And it's pretty simple. There are really specific things that you and I and everyone can do to be happier. And I'm happy to get really practical with you today and share at least 3, maybe even 4 of those things.
Marci, we love that, and thank you so much for sharing that. It's really great to hear that people in this position have been through what most people are experiencing probably on this call right now. We've all had times in our life, I'm sure, where we haven't been happy, or maybe we're, you know, listening in right now and we're in a state of, you know, of something that's not so happy in our lives. Maybe we're suffering from pain or illness or disease. Maybe we're stressed at work, or maybe we have, you know, relationships that aren't so great. There's a lot of reasons in life why we're not so happy all the time. And it's really empowering to hear that we will have a choice and that we will have a possibility to be happy. So I'd love for you to be able to share a little bit about happiness and how we can actually get some tangible understanding about how we can be happy ourselves, Marci.
Well, first of all, let me just share with you some bad news and some good news about happiness. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
I'll start with the bad news. 1 out of 4 women is on antidepressants. We have an epidemic of unhappiness in Western society. So that's the bad news. And it's not just women, it's men too, but it's a lot. Women are affected greatly by this. And we have more than we have had ever materially. And we're unhappier now than we were back in 1960. So this belief, this myth that, you know, more is better, and, you know, I'll be happier when I get a better job, or I'll be happier when I get a better husband, or I'll be happier when I get a better whatever it is. You know, the very famous popular one is, I'll be happier when I lose 20 pounds. So we think that it's something outside of us. That's the myth that we have in our society. Now here's the good news. The good news is that science has actually cracked the happiness code. We know what it takes for people to be happier. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that should be headline news. That should be everywhere. Happiness is the thing that people throughout all time have wanted more than anything. And we know how to get it. I mean, it's like crazy that we know what it is we most want, we know how to get, and it's not hard. So that's really cool. And that's, you know, that's to me the most kind of inspiring thing there is that there's this whole science of happiness. And so can I share with you what I think is the most important piece of the research on happiness? Matt, I know you like research. I know Marci, you're a scientist at heart.
You're killing us. We're on the edge of our seats. We've got comments flying in saying, Marci, please share with us how we too can get an A in happiness. Janet says, looking forward to learning Happiness 101. Please keep us off the edge of our seats, Marci. What can we do?
Great. So first thing to know is I'm not going to share a lot of research, but the most important piece of the research on happiness, in my opinion, is that we all have a happiness set point. And a happiness set point is like a thermostat setting. What that means is no matter what happens to you, whether it's good or bad, you're going to hover around your thermostat setting. And I'll give you 2 examples. If you won the lottery, and most people think that all they have to do is win the lottery and for sure they would be happier. Right. Well, if you won the lottery, you would be happier for a few months. But within about a year, you would return to that happiness set point, to your original happiness set point. Now, shockingly, the same is true of people who have tragedies. Generally, within about a year, they have also returned to their happiness set point. So the set point is the key to all of this. And here's how the set point is determined. It's 50% genetic. You're born with that. Now, I was born with a low happiness set point. So, you know, some people say nothing to do about that. Well, hang on just a minute, because in a moment I'll share with you that there actually is. But 50% is genetic, 10%, and only 10%, tiny little piece of the pie there, 10%, is your circumstances. Now, look around you and you'll notice that almost everybody is out there trying to fix their circumstances to be happier, to get all their ducks in a row like I was trying to do, and then they'd be happier. But it's only 10% of the equation. So it's not a great place to put all your life energy. The other 40% is your habits of thoughts and behavior. And that's the piece that you can really do something about to shift the whole thing. Now, I'm going to take this a step further. And I'm going to say that there are progressive scientists in a field called epigenetics. And Matt, you know epigenetics well. And these scientists say that even that 50% that's your DNA, that can be influenced or changed when you change these habits, which means that up to 90% of your happiness set point can be changed by changing habits. What I found is that the only difference between happy people and everybody else is that they had different habits. And I was able to identify 21 main habits that anyone can practice to raise their set point. So that's what I want to share with you today. We'll only have time for 3 or 4. I'll give you, though, an overview of kind of how these 21 habits fell. I found them that they fell into 7 main areas. So should I give you an overview of those 7 main areas?
Please, Marci, let me just jump in for a second, because I want everybody to realize the magnitude of what you just shared with us there, that our happiness, our circumstances, everything, or our happiness that is, often determines our entire outlook on life, our perspective of the world. This is 90% changeable. This is our choice. We can actually choose to change so many different things that exist in our life to change our happiness. That's such a profound understanding, Marci. So I just want to make sure everybody listening on the call really understands what Marci's talking about here, that what she's about to share with you is actually something that you can take hold of and grab right now, right at this point in time, and change your circumstances. So if you are in pain or disease or having troubles with relationships or people at work, this is something you can actually change your happiness right now. So Marci, please share with us. This is amazing. Thank you.
And by the way, Matt, I think this is really important to mention on a summit that's around health, the way happiness and health relate to each other. Happiness is so related to your health and well-being. People who are happier are 1/3 less likely to get sick. They live on average 7 years longer. There's just huge correlations. I'm sorry, they live on average 9 years longer. There's huge correlations. The Institute of Heart Math has found when you're angry or frustrated for just 5 minutes, it can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. But when you feel love and appreciation and gratitude for 5 minutes, it can strengthen your immune system for up to 6 hours. So this is really key to people's health. And I've seen so often that when you become happier, you very, very, hand in hand become healthier. So let's get into this. If you've got a pen and paper, you're going to want to probably take down some notes. Here are the 7 main areas to focus on for happiness. And what I want you to do as I go through these is I want you to see what areas am I already strong in and what areas am I weakest in. And what I tell people is start where you're the weakest, because that's where you're going to have the most result. We all have our Achilles heel. So the 7 areas, I know that people can't remember 7 of anything very well. So I'm just going to tell you the metaphor I created. It's called building your inner home for happiness. Now, a home has 7 main areas. It's got a foundation. It's got 4 corner pillars. It's got a roof, and it's got a garden. And here's how that relates to the 7 main areas of happiness. The foundation is taking responsibility for your happiness, not being a victim in life and saying, oh, well, of course I'm unhappy. My husband's a miserable person, or of course I'm unhappy. I'm doing work I hate. It's not being a victim and blaming and complaining all the time. It's actually saying, wait a second, I can do something about this. Then the 4 corner pillars are the pillars of the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul. The mind has to do with our thoughts. Do you have thoughts that support your happiness? We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. The body has to do with, do I have the biochemistry of happiness? Happiness is a biochemical event or state. Do you have the endorphins? Do you have the serotonin? Do you have the dopamine? Do you have the right biochemistry? And if that's your weak link, you need to really be doing the things to get the right biochemistry. Then there's the heart, and the heart has to do with your, do you live an open-hearted life? Do you have forgiveness? Do you have gratitude? Do you have loving kindness? And then there's the soul. Do you feel connected to a bigger energy in life? Do you feel plugged into your spirit? And then there is the roof. The roof of your home for happiness has to do with your purpose. Are you living an inspired life? Are you doing what you're here on this planet to do? And then finally, there's the garden. And the garden is, who are you surrounding yourself with? Do you have toxic people in your garden? Like I call them the weeds of your life. Or do you have roses and gardenias? The people who are supporting you in your happiness. So if you look at all 7 of those areas, find the 2 that are the weakest for you. and start there. And by the way, I have all 21 of my habits. They're on my website. You can get them for free at happyfornoreason.com. So feel free to just go there, and I'll send you all 21 of the happiness habits and an exercise to do for each of them. But let us focus on the ones that I find to be really hard for people. And why don't we start by doing a simple practice? It takes 2 minutes to do, and it's a practice that will move you from what science calls the stress response to what science calls the love response. And it's that earlier I said that just a few minutes of feeling angry and frustrated can suppress your immune system for 6 hours, but a few minutes of being filled with love or in the love response can strengthen your immune system. I'm going to give you just 2 minutes, and it'll put you more into this love response. And now this is a participatory one. This is something that's not going to be at all fun to watch us do it. Matt, I'm going to ask you to do it with me, and I'm going to ask everybody who's watching to do it along so you can actually experience this. So Matt, you're going to be my guinea pig, okay?
I'm all in, Marci. And for those that are watching live or replay, please make sure you participate in this. I'm sure it's going to be very profound.
Great. All right. So, and I learned this, by the way, from a group called the Institute of Heart Math. And Matt, you're familiar with them. They're leading researchers on the heart and happiness. And so it's 3 steps, and you can do this with your eyes opened or closed. But I recommend we do it with closed eyes because I think it goes a little deeper. So if you're able to close your eyes wherever you are, please do so. Now, the first step is to simply place the palm of your hand over your heart. Now, the simple act of putting your hand on your heart starts the flow of a chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin is dubbed the love hormone because it's what we have more of when we feel love, when we feel bonded with each other, when we feel connected to each other. We have lots of oxytocin. So, for example, mothers who are breastfeeding have lots of oxytocin. When we make love, we have lots of oxytocin. Just being with our friends and socializing and getting support creates oxytocin. And sitting like this with your hand on your heart really stimulates the flow of oxytocin. Now, the second step is to imagine that you're breathing in and out through the center of your heart. So just picture or feel that your breath is coming into and out of your heart. So you're inhaling into your heart and you're exhaling out of your heart at your own rhythm, just either picturing it or feeling it, that your breath is coming into and out of your heart. And you may already be feeling some kind of difference or shift in your body or in your emotions. Now, the third step is that on each in-breath, imagine that you're breathing in love, ease, and compassion. Your out-breaths are just normal exhales, imagining the exhale from the heart. Every in-breath, breathing into the heart, love, breathing in ease, breathing in compassion. Now, for some of you, it may be easy to remember a time when you felt love, ease, or compassion, and that's great. For others of you, it's easier to just internally say the words love, ease, and compassion, and that'll still bring about that state for you just by saying those words to yourself silently. So breathe into your heart, breathing in love, ease, and compassion. Really taking that in and exhaling out of your heart. And one last time, a deep breath in, breathing in into the heart, love, ease, and compassion. And on your next exhale, you can slowly take your hand away. And when you feel ready, you can just slowly and gently open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, just notice in your body, how do you feel? How do you feel compared to how you felt 2 minutes ago? That was only a couple of minutes. And notice how you feel emotionally. And Matt, I told you you'd be my guinea pig. So tell me, how do you feel any different now than you did a couple minutes ago, either physically or emotionally or both?
Absolutely, Marci. Actually, that was a really powerful way just to be very grounded, very relaxed, very calm. There's no busyness going on. There's no chatter in the mind. Not interested in what questions are coming in this interview. It just feels like it's going to flow perfectly as it needs to. And yeah, everything's just in a very calm and relaxed space. So it was very cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, so Matt, everything you just described, being grounded, being calm, at ease, smooth, all of those are symptoms of being in the love response. Now, the love response is not some airy-fairy idea. It's actually a physiological state that has its own brain activity, its own heart rhythms, its own biochemistry. And what we want to do is we want to develop more and more of the love response in our lives rather than the stress response where most people live. And when we live in the stress response, it inevitably brings unhappiness. So here's the trick. Doing that once is just a nice experience, nothing more than that. It will not change your life. But here's what will. If you do that every day for the next 2 weeks, 2 or 3 times a day, ideally 3 times, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening, what you'll be doing is you'll be habituating the love response. You'll be making it more and more your default state by habit because the body, mind remembers things by habit. So what I love is that this isn't hard to do. It takes 2 minutes to do it. You can do it with your eyes open. I do it when I'm standing in line at the grocery store or when I'm sitting on the phone with somebody talking. Nobody has to even know that you're doing it. I'll even do it in business meetings. I kind of pretend that I'm holding my necklace. I just kind of leave my hand at my heart area, and I just breathe in and out of my heart and breathe in love, ease, and compassion. And it works. So I ask people, don't take my word for it. Use your own life as an experiment and see how that works. So
that's so beautiful, Marci.
That may be one simple thing to do.
Well, that's I'd love to hear about your thoughts and experiences on that in the chat box. I know there's a lot of different chats coming in already and a lot of great feedback already on that, Marci. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And it's something so simple that we can do. And I'm sure everyone who just participated in that and whoever's just done that on the replay as well can feel the difference. It's 2 minutes and we feel different. We can do it anywhere in our lives, whether we're driving in the car, whether we're at the shopping center, if we're in a business meeting, if we're lying in bed just before we go to sleep, or when we wake up in the mornings. It's something we can bring anywhere into our lives. It's so easy, so simple. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, Marci.
You're welcome. Well, I'm glad to. And shall I move on to another technique tool for people?
Please. Okay. Absolutely. This is fantastic.
The mind. This is where a lot of people have a lot of problems. And we have a lot of just chatter that goes on there. The average person has 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, there's no problem with that. That's just natural. It's just what happens. Here's the problem. 80% of them are negative. Now, first of all, don't get really down on yourself for having so many negative thoughts because you're just adding insult to injury there. You're just making things worse by saying, oh, how bad of me to have so many negative thoughts. The reality is that we have something called the negativity bias. This is what scientists call it. We inherited it from our caveman ancestors who needed to remember the negative things in order to survive. We no longer need it to the degree that we had it back then, and it's become very maladapted. A dear friend of mine, Rick Hansen, who wrote the Buddha's Brain, he calls it the Velcro Teflon syndrome. He says our minds are like Velcro for the negative. They just stick to us. But they're like Teflon for the positive. The positives slide off of us. I'll give you an example. If you get 10 compliments in a day and 1 criticism, what do you remember at the end of the day?
Right.
The criticism. Most people remember that criticism. Well, what I've found is that happy people have reversed this tendency. They Velcro the positives. They Teflon the negatives. How do they do that? Well, first of all, There are a lot of great techniques and tools out there to Teflon the negatives, to help the negatives dissipate. I don't have time to teach those, but I'll just name a few of them. The Sedona method is a fabulous way to let go of those negative thoughts. Tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique, where you're tapping on various acupressure meridians, is another beautiful way to help release the negative patterns that we have and reset your neural pathways. And there are many others. The work of Byron Katie. There's so many others, and again, I list all of these in that in my 21 Habits to Being Happier. It's a workbook that if you go to happyfornoreason.com, I'll share with you. But let me just share with you right now what are some of the things you can do to Velcro the positives. So there are 3 little tips to Velcro the positives. Number 1, you have to start noticing them more. Be on the lookout for the good stuff. So one woman I interviewed said she plays this game, and she does this with her kids too. She pretends that she is the Academy Awards committee. And every day she looks to give out 5 Academy Awards. And so she goes throughout her day, and she might be taking a walk in the park, and she sees the cutest little white fluffy dog. And she, in her mind, gives that dog the Academy Award for the cutest dog of the day. Or sometimes she'll go up to the owner and say, you know, I do this game where we give out Academy Awards, and your dog just got the Academy Award for being the cutest dog. It's just a silly little game to actually be on the lookout for the positives. So that's tip number 1. Number 2, you must have the positives register for at least 20 seconds in order for them to create new neural pathways in the brain. What that means is we have to savor, we have to take in the positives and savor them. Let them really digest. It doesn't take anywhere near as long for the negatives to get in and stick because we're used to it. So we have to override it by letting the positives be savored. This is why, by the way, they talk about gratitude practices, where you write down at the end of the day 5 things you're grateful for. Well, one of the reasons why that works so well is that it's causing you to stop and write down, take at least 20 seconds to focus on what's good and to savor it. And then the third thing that you want to do, this is tricky, is you want to go for a 3-to-1 ratio. What that means is 3 positives for every 1 negative. So very often the negatives come up just naturally. And again, don't beat yourself up for those. But what you want to do is you want to replace them with more positives than there were negatives. So if if you have a meal at a restaurant that was delivered that, the mashed potatoes weren't perfect, and you start focusing on those mashed potatoes, what you want to do is you want to take your attention away from that. I mean, if it's something that has to be fixed, you can fix it. But if it's not something that's critical to get fixed, you put your attention on what is good. Wow, the green beans are really fabulous. I love that soup. I heard they serve great desserts here. So just refocus, and more things to replace, 3-to-1 to replace the negative. So
Beautiful.
That's just a simple little tip.
So simple, so tangible, so easy to do, actually. I hope either everyone's got pens and papers madly writing down, or just a little note. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you get free replays, free video replays of all the sessions from all the speakers on the whole summit. So you can listen to Marci over and over and over, which I probably recommend at this stage. There's so many tangible tips here, Marci. Thank you so much for sharing. Please continue. This is amazing.
Well, people often ask me, what's the most important thing to do? Like what's the one thing, if you could do anything, that you think is most important? And I actually have 2 answers to that. One is, it's important to find where your Achilles heel is, because that's where you want to start. If you just don't have enough serotonin, you want to start there. You want to immediately sign up to PH 360, and you want to get your serotonin balanced. You want to get your body balanced. And really, there's nothing that's, I think I'm loving the tool of PH 360 for getting that kind of balance going. So if that's your Achilles heel, and that I think is important for everybody, to take care of the body and the physiology behind happiness. But if there was one universal thing that I could say we can all do to fast track us to greater happiness, I would sum it up in one word: And the word is forgiveness.
Wow.
When we don't forgive, when we hold on to old anger or old resentment, it's the biggest thing to block our own happiness. You know, we think, oh, but if I forgive, I'm letting the other person off the hook, or, you know, I can't forgive. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning another person's behavior. Forgiveness simply means that you are freeing up your own energy in life so that whatever has happened in the past is not holding you back. You know, there's a very old saying that not forgiving is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Nothing happens to them. You're the one that's hurt by it. So regardless of who's at fault, regardless of how long ago the thing happened, I recommend you try out forgiveness. And there are many forgiveness techniques out there. And by the way, self-forgiveness is included in this because we are very often the hardest on ourselves. And we need a lot of compassion, self-compassion, and self-forgiveness. And there are a lot of forgiveness techniques out there, but the one that I use the most, it's my favorite, is a simple one. And it's called Ho'oponopono. And you never have to be able to pronounce that word in order to do it. Ho'oponopono is from an ancient Kahuna Hawaiian tradition. And it is a beautiful, beautiful process. And I'm just going to share with you very quickly the rudimentary procedure to this. And that is, what you're going to do is you're going to think about the situation or person or even yourself that you have a hard time coming to peace with or forgiving. And you're going to send that situation or person or yourself these 4 phrases, these 4 wishes. They are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm going to repeat those so you can write them down. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And all you do, you don't have to do it to the other person at all. You're doing this in your own heart. So I suggest that you take maybe 5 minutes at some point. You close your eyes. You feel those feelings. You get that person pictured in front of you. If you can't picture, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You get them in your heart. And you just imagine. You just send out, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And then you also spend some time doing it towards yourself. And then just watch and see what happens. Sometimes doing it once is all that needs to happen before just a breakthrough happens. Sometimes you need to do it every day for a week or 2. I can't tell you how many times people have told me the miracle stories that have happened in their life merely by doing this. And I'd love, Matt, do we have time for me to share one of my miracle stories about using this technique? Uh-oh, you went, I can't hear you. You're frozen. There you are.
We're good now, Marci. Sorry, we lost you for a second there.
Oh, you lost me. How I don't know what I didn't say.
We're perfect. This is just amazing content, Marci.
Did I talk about Ho'oponopono and how to do it? I mean, could you hear me saying that?
We only lost you for about 2 seconds there, and you were just asking forgiveness and the importance of forgiveness.
Do I have time to tell a quick story about using Ho'oponopono in my own life, Matt?
Please tell us, Marci. I'd love for you to share. This is amazing. I love just your energy, Marci. It's such a pleasure to listen to you speak and for the amazing insights you're sharing here and such tangible advice to everyone listening at home. We've got so many comments coming in, and everybody's really appreciating this so much, Marci. So please continue.
Great. Thank you. So I've used Ho'oponopono many, many times. I use it before I give any speech. I use it, before I even start talking to all of you. I just send these wishes out to everybody. The most important time that I used this was about 6 years ago. And my sister and I had just gotten in an argument, and she wasn't talking to me. We weren't talking to each other, actually. And this had never happened in our family before. It was really, really weird and uncomfortable and awkward. But she lived in another city, so we didn't have to see each other. Well, about 4 months into this silent treatment that we were giving each other, our family came together because we were moving our mother from our family home to an assisted living apartment. And we all came together the morning of the move to meet with the movers at her new apartment and unpack her things. Now, I was so nervous about this because I knew it was going to be a small area we were going to be in, and my sister and I were going to be together for the first time, and how awkward was that going to be? Well, I came in last, and I greeted everybody hello. I hugged and kissed my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephews, and my sister was off in the kitchen, and we ignored each other. And we went through the whole morning that way, and it was really awkward. You could, like, everybody could feel the tension in the air. Well, I couldn't take it anymore, and I decided to go to my car and just take a break. And on my way to the car, I remembered Ho'oponopono. So I sat in my car, and I just started sending my sister those wishes. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And after a couple minutes of that, I started sending them towards myself too, because I've been really angry at myself for what had happened. Well, Matt, after 5 minutes of this, something amazing happened for me. I felt this wave of love coming over me. And I, for the first time in my life, saw why my sister was mad. And it wasn't what had happened 4 months earlier was a little piece of it, but it was a lifetime of stuff that she had felt that I had suddenly understood. Like, from her point of view, I completely got it. And I had total compassion and love for her. And I went back into the apartment feeling entirely different towards my sister. But I decided not to say anything to anybody. So I went back in, and I just continued to unpack a box of my mom's. And no more than 3 minutes of me being back, my sister came over to me and grabbed me by the hand and said, "Come on, Marci, let's go into Mom's closet and unpack her clothes together." It was like, whoa, where'd that come from? So we did. We went and unpacked her clothes, and we had a really good time. And at lunch, she handed me her baked potato, and she said, "Here, Marci, you have my baked potato. You probably like these more than I do." And I was so surprised by this whole thing that I pulled my brother aside and I said, "Okay, what did you say to her while I was gone?" And he said, "Marci, I didn't say anything to her. Nobody did. We have no idea what's just happened." Well, that was the beginning of an entirely different relationship that I now have with my sister. And I tell you, Matt, it happened at the most critical time, because 9 months later, she and I found ourselves standing back in that very same closet. But this time we were packing up Mom's clothes because our mother had just passed away very suddenly and unexpectedly. And I cannot imagine what that would have been like had my sister and I been in the silent treatment for all those months and not had forgiveness. And wow. So I tell this story because I know that every single person listening, every person alive, has someone or something that they haven't forgiven, including perhaps themselves. And so again, use your own life as an experiment. Just try it out. It doesn't take very long. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And just see what happens in your life.
Such beautiful words, Marci, and thank you so much for sharing that story with us. And it really does hit home the power of some of the things that we don't even think, are possible or don't even see as tangible. We talk a lot about, when we talk health, we talk a lot about physical things. If you ask someone on the street, "Oh, what can you do to be healthy?" They'll say, "Oh, I'll change my diet or go on a diet and I'll do some exercise." Maybe it's, it's food and exercise, food and exercise, food and exercise. That's all we really hear about health. And we're now starting to understand so much more about these things, these unseen things, these crazy concepts like forgiveness can actually influence everything in our life, for our state of health, for our happiness, which really underpins everything that we're here for. It's just so powerful to understand. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I just wanted to really highlight just the 2 points that you've mentioned there about forgiveness. And you talked about PH360 and about the concept of epigenetics, really, where there's so many things around us at any particular point in time that have an interaction with us and ourselves in the pillars, as you suggested at the start of this call. The mind, the body, the spirit, our emotions. These are all such important concepts and things to be aware of. And if there's one thing that you get from this whole series on the Personal Health Summit, it's that to be aware of all these things and to find out what's right for you at your particular point in your journey, because we're all different. We're all at different points in our journey, whether it's our physical journey, our spiritual journey, our mental journey, our emotional journey. We're all at different points and we're all having different experiences. But the one thing that really does come back, and which is why I really appreciate you being here today, Marci, is it's all about happiness at the end of the day. We talk a lot about health in the work that we do, and the reasons why we need to get to a state of health is so we can be happy. It's one of those chicken or the egg things. Can you be getting better health if you are in a happy state? Then yes, you can. Will you be more happy if you're in a better state of health? Yes, you will. And it's one of those things that really, we're understanding the interaction, the dynamics so much more these days with a lot of the science that's coming out, a lot of the great institutions, as you mentioned, a few of them on this call, like HeartMath, that are bringing a lot of this to our awareness, and understanding more about the hormones and different neurotransmitters that exist that really support this. It's just such a really exciting time. I'm really excited to be having these conversations, and feel very, very grateful that we can be having these conversations with everybody listening in today, everybody who's watching the replay, so that they can really start to hear and become aware and experience these things, even live on this call. Everybody has listened in as to, we've been through an experience ourselves on this call. We can feel the difference in 2 minutes. We see how it changes our actual emotions and energy, and even what our thoughts are like. And it really is such tangible things that we can implement into our lives so easy. And I really appreciate that. And the forgiveness is something that is just imperative for everything, and it changes our emotions, like literally like that. It's dropping off and dissociating, a belief that you've had that someone else has been responsible for a problem that you're currently experiencing, or you're the victim because someone else caused this to happen to me. And the forgiveness, as you share so well there, just gets rid of that belief and says, hey, someone else isn't responsible for my life. Someone else isn't responsible for my feelings. Someone else isn't responsible for my state of consciousness right now. I'm actually responsible. So for me to go, you know what, I'm going to forgive them, is actually, as you share, it's more for the forgiver as opposed to the receiver, because it just literally lets everything go, and your emotions can start to flow. Your energy can start to flow in our body again. And these are things that we're starting to match and measure with science now, which is really, really exciting. So Marci, thank you so much for bringing that in our awareness in such a tangible way. I must say, it's so much more interesting listening to you share these sorts of words than it is to listen to me, because you have such a beautiful way to deliver this information. It's so tangible. It's just so beautiful. I really love everything about what you're sharing with us, and the way that you share it, the way that it just rolls out of your tongue, and you can feel everything that you say, Marci. It's beautiful. So
thank
so much.
you, Matt. That's so sweet. Well, you bring out, I love getting to talk to you. You're so brilliant. You're an amazing synthesizer of all of this knowledge from every part of life, and you're one of the brilliant minds on the planet. So I'm always happy to get to talk with you. I thought of, since we're on Google Hangout and we can see each other, I thought of another little demonstration that I wanted to show everybody. Is that all right?
Yes, please. Yeah.
There's two energies in life, and only two energies. There's the energy of expansion and the energy of contraction. When we are contracted, we feel unhappy. When we are expanded, we feel happy. It's very simple. And so let me prove this to you. It's impossible to feel good when you're contracted, and it's impossible to feel bad when you're expanded. So do a little experiment with me, and I'm hoping everybody at home does this, or everybody wherever you are, you do this with us. So I want you to curl into a little ball right now, and I'm doing it, and Matt, I hope you're doing it. Curl into a little ball. Get really contracted, okay? Really, really contracted. And on a count of 3, I want you to say, I feel happy. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I feel happy. Okay, sit up. Did you feel happy?
I did not feel happy. I was actually saying I was on mute, just so you know. It was very difficult. I was on mute. I was saying it. I didn't feel happy.
Hard to feel happy when you're contracted. When we're expanded like that, it's hard to feel bad. So I want to prove this to you. I want you all to expand like that. Everybody put your arms out like that. Come on, Matt. Put your arms way out. There you go. Okay, on the count of 3, I want you to say, I feel depressed. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I feel depressed. Now, did you feel depressed? No.
Not in the slightest bit depressed.
It's hard to feel depressed when you have expanded energy. Now, does this mean I want you to walk around like this all day long? No, they would lock you up. What it does mean is anytime we're moving in our life in an area of expansion, we're going to be building up our happiness. Anytime we feel contracted, we're going to be diminishing our happiness. So you can start to make your life choices by asking yourself the question, does this expand or contract me? Do the people that you're spending time with, do they expand or contract you? They say that There's a phenomenon called emotional contagion. They say that we catch the emotions of the people around us just like we catch their colds. And that in fact, we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Right. So make a little list of the 5 people that you hang out with the most and see, do you want to catch their emotions? You know, do they expand you or do they contract you? So those are just little tips. Does this expand me? Does this work expand me? Does this job expand me? Does this person expand me? Now, obviously not every moment of every day, you know, I mean, I have pieces of my work that aren't my favorite things to do. Responding to emails isn't my favorite thing to do, but I try to do it in a way in which I can feel more expanded. Matt actually taught me to, when I can, I'm on the telephone, to walk, because I'm the kind of person that feels more expanded when I'm actually walking rather than sitting. So little things that you can do to help you feel more expanded in your life, and even your body posture. You know, when you're sitting like this and kind of curled up, you're just not going to have as much life force flowing through you. So when you notice that you're feeling a little get up, move your body, open it up, and feel more open.
Beautiful, Marci. Thank you so much. And this is such an interactive session. I'm sure everybody's appreciating it. Oh, I know everybody's, there's so many comments coming through right now. I'll just read a couple of them out. And this is, if you have a question for Marci, we're going to take 1 or 2 questions. Just if you're looking for some answers in your own personal situation, if you're looking to understand a few more of the concepts about being happy that Marci's sharing with us and how that can influence your health, please feel free to ask away. We've got so many comments coming through here. Marci Dasha says, I love this analogy of happiness. Thank you, Marci. Christine says, the analogy was great. Easy way to figure out how to get started on this path. Nikki says, wow, so simple, so powerful. Anne says, that feels so nice. A few minutes of love and I feel more calm and my shoulder ache even went away, says Dasha. Janet says, I felt inspired. Camille, me too, Janet. Christine, that really worked. Denise, very effective. Love tapping, but try not to do it in public. Lol, says Anne. I love the work. There's just so many comments coming through. I'll probably spend the rest of our time just reading these out, Marci. So I'm just going to jump to it.
I see one question that I want to answer because it's a very quick question from Celia about whether Ho'oponopono can work if the person is deceased. And absolutely. This is not about, you're not doing Ho'oponopono for the other person. You're doing it for yourself. So the person can be long gone. You may never talk to the person. They can be deceased. Doesn't matter. You're doing it to shift your own energy. And when you shift your own energy, it shifts patterns going forward in your life. You start attracting different people or different life situations when you've forgiven.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marci, for clarifying that too. And it's just such a powerful technique. It's not even a technique, it's just a way of life. It's a way of being. And this should be part of our natural everyday life, really. And I really appreciate the way that you put this together, Marci, on this conversation. So thank you. And we've got a question here from Dasha who says, Marci, I find that I'm able to find negative thoughts and redirect them to positive, except when situations are really, really bad. I don't know how to reframe those big situations into positive ones, like when people leave my life, my last partner, or life in general. You know, my friend recently passed. It's a really great question, Dasha, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that can resonate with that on this call, that, you know, sometimes the little things are easy to do and we can do that, but what about the big things, Marci, that are really, really hard? Could you help us understand how to navigate through that?
I love, love, love that question. So thank you for asking that. When I interviewed these I called them my happy 100. They were these 100 people who were living in this sort of deep and lasting state of happiness. I call it happy for no reason, not because I expect you to be walking around 24/7 with a silly grin on your face, but because it means being happy inside no matter what's going on. So it means happy for no reason is an inner state of peace and well-being that doesn't depend on your circumstances. Does it mean you can feel angry or sad or grief if somebody dies? Absolutely. But you have this inner backdrop of peace and well-being that you take with you wherever you go. And so what I found in interviewing these people is that they all had, and this gets to your question, Dasha, they all had the belief that we live in a friendly universe, a benevolent universe. Einstein said that the most important question you can ask yourself is this a friendly universe? So they all said, yes, it's a friendly universe. Now that didn't mean everything went their way, But what it meant was when things didn't go their way, when they were having deep challenges, when someone left them, when something went wrong, they didn't think that it was a punishment. They knew that the universe was friendly and on their side. And so they believed that even though it didn't seem like a good thing, that it actually somehow must have been a good thing. There must have been a good reason for that to happen. And so what that means is the next time something happens to you that doesn't go the way you want it, that here's a question to ask yourself, and I love this question. The question is, if this were happening for a higher reason or a higher purpose, what would that be? So someone just left you. If this is happening for a higher purpose, what could that be? There's a beautiful quote, I love it. Rejection is God's protection. So if somebody leaves you, you have no idea how that could be really, really, really in your best interest when you're in the pain of it. But to trust that it's happening for a higher purpose and to really dig deep to what might that higher purpose be. You know, if I have this illness, what might be the higher purpose? Maybe it's so I am forced to take better care of myself. Maybe it's so that I learn to be open and receive support and help. Maybe it's for me to slow down. You know, who knows? Maybe it's for me to forgive. And once I do some forgiveness, something will shift. We have no idea sometimes when we bemoan some negative circumstances, we have no idea how the universe is really on our side and giving that to us as a gift.
Wow, so powerful, Marci. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we've got just so many great comments coming through from this session, Marci. And Nikki says, I heard that emotional contagion works through social media like Facebook too. I just followed Marci Shimoff and this summer on Facebook, so I see happy things in my newsfeed. It's a great way to look at it. Marci, just one more time. The link for you was happyfornoreason.com. Is that correct?
Yes, there's actually two links. There's happyfornoreason.com. And the other thing that I'm very excited about that I'm doing these days is I'm leading people in what's called a year of miracles. And it goes from January to December. And it's an online program where we have 1,400 people from around the world. And people, through a process we give them, they pick 3 miracle intentions that they want to manifest for the year. And then we go through these wonderful processes to help them live in what we call the miracle zone, where really the things, we create miracles in our lives. And last year we had 94% of the miracles happen for people that they had asked for in the beginning of the year. So it was quite remarkable. And so that's at youryearofmiracles.com.
Youryearofmiracles.com.
Yeah, youryearofmiracles.com. Okay,
we're just making sure we've got those links in the browser there for people to check out. Please make sure you check out Marci's links, guys. It's absolutely phenomenal to have you here, Marci, just sharing your wealth of wisdom and knowledge and everything that you have gathered on all your life experience that you share so well, from you coming out of the womb in a state of depression through to, for you, but just being happy for no reason today. And you can just feel everything. Just you could probably sit here for an hour, Marci, and not even say anything. We could just sit there and smile and feel what we feel from being in the connection with you. So I really appreciate everything that you deliver, not just from a verbal point of view, but from energetically. You can just feel everything about you, the happiness that exudes from you, and it's really contagious and really, really beautiful. So thank you for that.
Do I get to end with? Do I get to say one other thing?
You can absolutely say one other thing, please. Yes.
One other thing. Okay. Besides
absolutely.
The fact that, Matt, I love you and everything that you're up to, and I just think you're just doing great work on this planet. So I really have huge respect for it, and I personally have benefited so much from PH360 and from the work that you do. So I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that. But the other thing that I want to mention is, a lot of people ask me, and I didn't come up here, but I'm often asked, or people make the comment, isn't this selfish? You know, all you're doing is thinking about me being happy, but what about the world? Well, my response to that is this. I believe that being happy is the least selfish thing that you could possibly do. Because when you're happier, you're affecting everybody around you. I think it's your greatest contribution to this planet. So I always love to leave people with a Chinese proverb that sums that up and kind of sums up I'm so passionate about being happy, about having people be happy. It goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in this world. And my prayer and my wish for each of us is that we feel that light, that love, that happiness in our own hearts. And through that, we help create more peace here on this planet of ours.
Wow. That's unbelievable, Marci. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you have so far on this call. I know for a fact that everybody has got so much out of this call, for listening in live, for watching replays, to really get an understanding about happiness and about the fact that, you know, going back to the start of the call, that 90% of happiness is completely in our control. Everything that exists in this capacity, we can change, we can influence, we can choose, we can decide that happiness is something that we want to choose. And health and happiness go hand in hand, as we spoke before. It's the chicken or the egg, that they're completely interrelated, and a state of happiness can influence and significantly shift a state of health, and a state of health can significantly influence a state of happiness. And so if there's, I guess, a take-home message for this, it's probably go and spend some more time with Marci Shimoff, but really just understand that happiness is in your control, health is in your control, all these things around us, everything about us, we can actually start to have a conversation now about how we can tangibly influence this ourselves. And that really is so amazing and so empowering to be able to be in that space and time. So Marci Shimoff, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you all for listening in. Thank you for investing the time into your own health to learn about these amazing concepts, how we can actually tangibly understand what's right for us to be happy and healthy. And please go ahead and like the Facebook page to get all the updates from all the speakers and the goodies and the bonuses and the schedules. But most importantly, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get the replay of Marci and listen to it another 15 times, so you can actually take in all the things that she walked us through on this call today. So all the speakers are available for free. Please share this with your family and friends and your communities. This is what we're here for. Everybody is here delivering free information just for you, so that you can take those steps forward in your life. So thank you so much again, Marci, for being here. Thank you all of you for listening in, and looking forward to talking to you all again soon.